Okay folks, so welding the drive shaft. Here's what we do. Dial indicator on the frame. I've got it clamped because I don't want it moving. You don't want to turn the drive shaft by hand because, as you can see, you can make it move really easy and flex. And especially when the transmission is mounted in rubber. So make sure it's in neutral. And then I'm reaching out here and turning the back tire by hand. And what you're trying to do, I mean, you're trying to get it zero, but chances of getting it zero is pretty slim because you can see it bouncing fast. That's not because it's out of round, that's just because of paint and roughness of the steel. But you keep working with it, keep tapping it until you get it, you know, within 5 thousandths would be perfect. You can go within 10 and not have any issues, but just keep working with it until you get it, and then tack it, check it again, tack it, check it again. Just, you know, keep turning it and tacking it and checking it and tapping it and whatever you got to do to tack it and tap it and get it where you need it. And then once you know have got enough on it to where you know it's not moving, then you can weld it up good. Let me see. Also, this yoke, when you set it in and you see the top side of it, has to be lined up the same with the back. You don't want to get the index off on them. So make sure you do that. The best way to do it is to actually lay a level, well, one of the little magnetic levels up here on this one and lay it on the other one and make sure they're exact. Now this press is on there, and all I done was cut this off, cut 3 1/4 inches off of this. Went around this with a cutoff wheel. That's why your groove's not going to be perfectly even because you're doing it by hand. But you cut it, you just get it deep enough to get in there and get the old drive shaft cut. You knock it off, and that leaves you, you know, 3/8 of an inch, or maybe a little more, whatever, to press it back on. And you just keep working with it until you get it on. Don't bother with this line because, like I said, you know, that line's going to confuse you because if you cut this by hand and then cut this on a machine, they're not going to be the same. There we go. Ready to roll with that. Okay folks, following day, trying to finish up a few things. We didn't get the cross member finished where it bolts in. We've had the transmission block where we wanted it. Of course, I got the drive shaft welded up last night. That's all done. There you go. And pedals, got them bent over. We've got to put stops on these pedals to keep them from coming back because they're both coming back way too far. But that's a little better. I could probably come over a little bit farther on the left with the brake pedal. And we're going to have room. I've already set the floorboard back in and took it back out, so I don't see any issues there. Once this cross member's done, I've cut the pieces out. I'm waiting on them to cool down, but once the cross member's done, we can run a few wires. I'm going to run my brake light wires, and we're going to go ahead and start getting this floor in permanent. And let me see, we're working on the windshield. We've got the frame sitting in there and clamped in lightly and got it blocked about a 1/4 inch off of the bottom, which from one of the pictures I see that looks like about where it's supposed to be. So we're working on making a mount for the hinge to get all that mounted in. So I want it to hinge. I don't want to put it in solid, you know, where it don't. So that's why we're going through the trouble. I think it would be nice on a hot day. But anyway, it's being, you know, kind of a pain because I'm missing parts, but we're going to have it done here in a little bit because that's one of the priorities. We've got to have a windshield to drive it. And for now, we're going to slice the edges of this metal on this radiator and get it where I can get this Dodge Brothers grill to sit on there. We'll paint this something besides what it is, black, whatever, and then we'll get that in there, and we'll get, Noah still thinks we're building a rat rod, I think. He keeps putting rat rod pieces on it, and I keep taking them off, but should be alright. So anyway, we've got some hinge work to do on the other side, mainly going through the holes with a tap and making some screws. It's kind of weird because what I've done here, I went ahead and drilled and went with 1/4 coarse thread. Of course, 20 is coarse thread, so that's what I went with on the hinges. But the original hinges had 5/16 course. What is it, 5/16 to 18, I think. But they had coarse thread. But if you get a 5/16 bolt countersink, it's the head's way too big. So, and I'll show you up here. I've got these ones in temporary. I'm going to run a tap through that hole yet, but you see how much too big these are. These are just temporary. Now I've got some, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the heads down on the lathe, and I'm probably just going to slot them as a flat head, and that way they'll go in, because they wanted $5.99 a piece, I think, for the right screws for this, which are 5/16 with a small head like a quarter. And I don't want to, you know, that's just kind of crazy because I got to have them all for the other side. So we're just going to make them and go with them. And as long as, you know, we tap the holes out and make it where they screw in easy and screw out easy, they'll be fine. And so we're basically going to jump on the things I need to make it drivable, and then I'll jump back to trying to do some sheet metal work, and that way I can know that it's going to be ready to go for Monday. And I think, you know, I don't see it as being a problem. We'll throw some taillights in it. What I'd like to do on taillights, the easy, simple way of doing this is buy a trailer light wire setup, and that way you got all 4 of your strands in one, and you just run it up, and you know, they all stay together and hide good. And you know, just for the price of it, it's way easier to do that. And you know, we will get some more metal work done, but for now I'm going to jump on the things I really need to do, and I'm going to show everyone how to do this door panel. Okay, so the bottom panel for this door, the only thing that we have gotten done is we put it in the brake, put a 90 on it, and I rolled a bead on it. And that's pretty simple. There's nothing complicated there. So what we've got to do now is shrink it to get it to fit. And the reason we do that, I showed before on the other one. As you can see, we've got a 1/2 inch gap, and at least a 1/2 inch on this end. In other words, it don't fit the contour, and we don't want it flat because it don't look right if it's flat. So we have to shrink the bottom. So after we shrink the bottom, we'll cut these edges back till this is the right width, and then we'll break the ends and to a 90. And then we actually shrink that to get our curve here to be the same as the door. And you just play with it, practice with it. Then I lay the piece up, clamp it exactly where I want it, and because I use thin blades on the cutoff wheel, I'll actually cut right along the edge of this and cut the old door off. And then basically clean everything up, tack it, bend it over the lips, and of course we're going to have to rebuild the inside bottom of this door also, which is not a problem. And but that's how we do it. This one's really simple. A little bit of shrinking here and there to get it to the right shape, and we've already got it ready to go. And a little work on the end of it. So that's not a big issue. This one here, we've got to roll the extra bead in it because we're coming down from the wheel well, and then we got to do some hammering on it to make it the right size. This is really the most time-consuming one. It's not really that complicated, it's just time-consuming. But we just need to get our distance down right, and then you know, we tie the floor into this panel, and you know, really you know, try to make it good and solid, everything where it won't move. And that's what we're going to do. And this will be the bottom. There will be no rocker protruding under that, but the rocker will actually come up and go inside the bottom of the door down here, and I'll show you when we do that on the other side, and which hopefully will be soon. Anyway, back to work. Try to get absolutely as much done as I can. I want to get this windshield in permanent. I'm hoping to you know, I really don't, I'm holding off on putting the other windows in, the side windows and the back window, because when you go to welding, last thing you want is your windows in, because them weld beads will definitely mess up your glass, and I don't want the glass to have a bunch of little spots in it. So if we do put them in, we'll have to cover them, tape over them, whatever, so we don't have that issue. So, alright, we get back on it with as much as I can done, and I'll show you as I go. Oh, one more thing. I don't know if I showed this or not. I do, well, I can't shut the door because I got the clamps on it up there, but we do have the door latch in, the door handle on. That worked out well. Put new screws in it. These are 1032s, if anybody needs to know later. We re-tapped the holes. Actually, the screws that was in it, well, I heated up and got them all out but one. I had to drill it and get it out, but the rest of them came out. Not easy, but they did come out. And there was no latch here, but somebody had put the screws back in and they rusted back in real good. So that's done. Works really well. These are also 1032s. Tap the holes out, put them in. That's done. So that's that. Now the screw holes for the other two pieces, I'll show you what I've got. Okay, here is the dovetail. Now this piece actually mounts right here, and it actually fits into a groove inside the door and helps line the door up. So I don't know what size threads these are, but they go all the way through this wood, and then they actually have nuts on the back side. There's some screws that would have went through here that are not in it. We'll put some back in it that just run into the wood, and we'll probably just drill them and run them all the way through that plate also and tighten them down. Because we're going to leave that wood inside of here. We're going to leave the wood inside of here to keep this, you know, the structural. If not, we're going to have to, you know, weld a piece in. Then here is the latch that goes in, and I'm not sure what size these holes are. They look like quarter. I've got to get a light or something, get in there and try to see if they're quarter, core spine, whatever. We'll run a tap through them and then we'll put some screws in them. Okay, I went ahead and brushed on a little primer. It's drying, so maybe it'll look all right. You still see the brush lines in it, but you know, I don't care. I wanted to get some primer inside here, some of that red oxide primer, so I could put the windshield in for the last time. I'm going to stick it in, and hopefully I won't have to be taking it back out, because I've had it in and out 20 times probably. So that's what we're working on now. If I can get in and then make it permanent. I'm hoping I can find a cap for that, and we still may weld it up to where, you know, even if something comes in around the cap, it won't leak in. But or somebody make a mistake and start putting gas in it, that wouldn't be good. So but I want to leave it there just for looks. I like it there. We're not trying to make it look clean, and you know, if we was going to do that, we'd done away with the outside hinges and the door handles, but we want it to look like what I remember as a hot rod when I was younger. So that's what I'm working on. All right. Okay, folks. Noah's fixing to leave, and I didn't do much filming at all. We've been really hard at it. Too afraid we're going to run out of time, so we've got most of the inside painted. We're just brush painting everything. Got the deck lid primed, part of the gas tank, firewall. Working on door hinges. We got the windshield in. That's in for good. And it tilts out just like it's supposed to. I do have a couple more holes to drill on it. Yeah, everything's rolling right along. We're finishing up a bunch of little stuff. And I still got to do the bottom of the doors and the quarters. And you hear Noah's truck start. And let me see. Door hinges on the other side. I'm working on the bolts right now. I'll show you what I got to do. Okay, here's what we're actually turning these bolts down. This is what it was with that big head. But I need them to be 5/16, but have a head the size of a 1/4 inch. So that's what we're doing. We're taking them down from that size to this size. This is for the hinges on the passenger side. So there's 4 here, and I got 5 more to do, and I'm done. So we'll get that done and try to get that door on. Okay, everything had to stop. My grandson wanted to know if I could fix his alligator for him. The pin broke. Little plastic, so we're going to drill it out and put a steel pin through it. Okay, we've got all the holes tapped in the hinges themselves, but somebody had tried to weld this door on. So working on this hole here, I'm going to work on that one, and I've got one completely covered right here. So we're trying to get these taken care of so we can put screws in it and make it look decent. These are all right here. So, all right, that's what we can do. Well, far from perfect, but we're going to see. At least there's a hole there, right? Well, we got the door on. I got these 3 in, surprisingly. These 3, which some holes were fine. We got 2 of these, and look how far off I am. I don't know how I done that. I thought I was drilling it where the hole was. So I can either try to drill and retap, which is going to be really tough, or I can weld this up and try to move over. So I think that's what I'll do. I'll probably just put a mark here where it actually needs to be centered, and then weld this up, let it cool, and then drill and try to redo it again, because I'd really like to get it in there. And but that won't be tonight. Getting ready to hang it up. Well, I'm not working on the car. I'm just hanging up working on the car outside. I'm going to go work on the seat, which I was supposed to do last night, but I just didn't have the fuel in my tank to do it. So anyway, we're moving along with it. I did get the door latch on this side. I still don't have the striker plate with a little dovetail in on either side, but I've got the new latch, and it closes. This is the locking side. So, body line's pretty good. This hinge, the top section's broke. The pin's still through the bottom, so we'll have to try to drive it out and put another pin in. This one's broke on top, so it's going to be drove out in another pin. The top pin's good, and we've got bolts in the cowl, and of course, you know, that panel's bolted in right. Windshield's in good. The only thing is it's a little bit low, so when you first start to swing it, it rubs a little bit. So I can get it up. It's just going to take a little bit of work. So I'll probably just leave it like that for now, because I'm probably either going to be running with it closed or open. But I won't be opening and closing it a lot, if that makes any sense. So anyway, we still got some painting to do, you know, some primer work to do up top. I did put a panel there. Take 2 screws out and get to your master cylinder. I haven't built the stop yet for the pedals to coming back. Got a little bit more bending to do on there to get the steering cleared, but I don't want to do the steering or anything else to the pedals until I get a seat in it, because I want to be able to get it where it's comfortable to drive. It's actually really roomy in here. I'm really surprised. After being in the other one, you know, I didn't have to, it's really not channeled at all. The floor is pretty much, not exactly, but pretty much where it was from the factory. But the car looks really low because the suspension of frame sits low. So I was able to leave that and then not chop the top. So I've got all the space, you know, that I didn't think I'd ever have in it. So that worked out really well. So we're just going to keep working away at it. You know, got a lot more welding to do. Like I said, we're probably going to spend a day welding. Probably tomorrow, I would say that we're going to have, hopefully, the bottom of the seat in. And hopefully we can go ahead and get the wiring done on. I don't think I'm going to do the major welding on the body and the panels until the weekend. So tomorrow we'll be getting it to where we can fire it up and hopefully get the steering hooked up. And we're getting really close. I mean, I don't see any problem with having it ready. And you know, gluing the windows in is quick, no problem there. Using urethane, which is what you would put a new model windshield in with, so I don't have to worry about them coming out. Varnish mold's actually screwed to the wood, which is kind of no good because a lot of the wood's, you know, screwed up and missing. So we'll debate on whether we're going to put some wood back in it or just put steel back in place of it. We may put some wood back in just to get the garnish molds, and then, you know, when I do the interior in it, I can cover all that. That's not a big issue. And anyway, I think that's about it. Got some holes to fixing the firewall where we didn't paint there. So we got to do that yet, and it's coming along though. And I do appreciate everybody watching and all the good comments on this. And I want to thank Shane again for bringing the the parts I needed under the windshield. He actually brought me a windshield frame, and that really helped out a lot because I couldn't remember. It's been so long since I'd messed with one, and I think the last one I messed with was a 28, so the style was a little different up here. But I wasn't sure about what was missing, what wasn't. I'm still missing that piece up top, but that's not an issue. We can build around that. And he's supposed to bring me a gas cap, which I don't have, to fit the top of that tank. All right, Blair Cameron, another friend of mine, stopped by and brought some parts. He brought a gas pedal. He brought an Uga horn, brand new, so that'll definitely be in the trunk. He brought this for a gas pedal, and I was going to use it. This is off a bass drum, but unfortunately, because of the way that hump is made, I'm not going to have room for it. And I'll show you how we're going to do all that. And he brought an old school air cleaner, which I like, so we're going to put that on it for now. And he brought me a license plate light, and he is the one that brought the gas tank. So I want to thank him. And electrical engineer sent me a lot of stuff, and I'm going to do a little video on that soon. But a lot of the wiring pieces and parts and odds and ends stuff that I'm using on this thing came from him, so I'll show you everything he sent in another video as soon as we get this thing wrapped up. But I want to say thank you again to him. And this stuff is not a problem. It's all about how much work you want to put into something, how much time. One thing about it, we haven't spent a lot of money. And I wouldn't have had to spend part of the money that I spent. When it comes to like the door handles and stuff, I sort of splurged on that mainly to save myself time and trouble. But as for steel and stuff, I haven't bought any. I mean, all the interior steel was stuff that was given to me, and all these body panels was, of course, you've seen trunks and hoods and stuff. And let me see, I've got the radiators. I'm not going to get one of them in, of course, yet. I mean, we'll do that after the cruise in. And I think that's about it. I'll just keep rambling all night if I don't shut up, but I will see what we can get done on a seat. I've got an idea for a seat back. I'll show you in the next video. Anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and till next time, bye.